What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 188 of the Stand Up Guys podcast. I'm your host, the incomparable Zach Jones, joined as always by star of the Disney Sus original, The Ass So Tight.
Ass so tight. All right, that's not bad actually.
I mean, there's not much to work with on some of these, but
Short name. So yeah, you worked it out. That's original. All right. Yeah. Oh, pretty good. That's solid. Yeah.
All right. So if you guys couldn't guess, we're going to be reviewing Disney's new show, Star Wars: The Acolyte. Episodes 1 and 2 dropped. This will be mostly spoilers as we go over these episodes, but I am curious, AJ, what did you think? Just non-spoiler, your impression of the show so far?
It's okay. I do like the idea of delving into like Jedi history and like what it was like, before the whole wipeout of those people, like the whole what was it, Order 60? What was it?
66.
56. So yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot of information on what happened in their history, so it is kind of cool to delve into that. Yeah, I don't know. I like it.
Yeah, I think I agree that that's like one of the most appealing things about this show is the time period, the fact that it takes place like 100 years before any of the other stuff we knew. So I think it just gives them like freedom to do whatever they want, which is exciting. And also, they're not going to rely on, there's no nostalgia. Like, there's no like, oh, look, they brought back Luke Skywalker, or whatever, so we get all new characters, and it's just not bogged down with any expectations, really, which I think for Star Wars is a good thing, because I think that's what's killed. Like, I've liked a lot of like newer Star Wars stuff, but like some of the hardcore fans that don't like it, I think that's their issue with it, is they're just so in love with the original material that they don't necessarily like it when, new things are made that maybe put the things they like in a different perspective, like the Han Solo movie, which I thought was decent, but I know a lot of people hated, because they have an idea of like, who Han Solo is to them and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But no, I did like this. I thought it was, I guess I'm somewhere in the middle. It wasn't like, as quickly captivating as something like Andor was, and it's not immediately as fun as something like The Mandalorian was. But it certainly got my attention. I think right now, like, it's always hard to score these things. These first two episodes, I think I would put around like a 6.5 out of 10. Like, I think they're solid, but it could go either way. Like, maybe it'll be great, maybe it'll take a turn that I don't like. But definitely, it's got my attention. I'm intrigued enough. It's how I feel.
I'm in the same place. Like, so far, it's kind of like it's more about like one person, and like, not completely, but it's about this one person who's dealing with her sibling and that whole situation. But I do want to see more in depth, like stuff regarding the Jedi overall, like like how they functioned beforehand, like what was their society like, all the rules and everything that were kind of lost throughout history and stuff. I don't know, it'd be interesting. And there's like I think a Jedi master or whatever in this show who seems to like be able to bring that to the teachings and the knowledge that they had. Like, he seems to like carry that well. So I think we'll learn more about that throughout the show.
Yeah, it is interesting because, like, in the prequel movies, which, aren't very good, but the interesting thing is that there's like tons of Jedi, because they haven't been wiped out yet.
Oh, right,
and like same with this show. So yeah, it is interesting to see, Star Wars when there are just like Jedi like all over the place. And I think also this show is kind of like, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's exploring like the rise of the Sith and like the dark side of the Force, that type of thing. So that's interesting as well. AJ, any points you want to hit on before we get into spoilers?
We'll get into it, but I'm not a big fan of the whole, the mysterious bad guy being, like related to the group, I guess, or something like that. Like I kind of prefer it to be like an outside villain that they have to like learn about and wonder what their motivations are and like stuff like that. I don't know.
Well, we'll get into it, but there is like they do set up like a mysterious villain that we don't exactly know.
Okay.
Um, so there'll be some of that.
All right.
Okay, so yeah, let's get into it. So episode 1, entitled Lost/Found. So since this is the first episode, we do get like a Star Wars like block of text, and this is what it reads: 100 years before the rise of the Empire, it is a time of peace. The Jedi Order and the Galactic Republic have prospered for centuries without war. Um, I mean, so that's interesting. This takes place 100 years before like any of the stuff we would have known before. But it says the Jedi Order have already prospered for centuries without war. So the Jedi's have been around a while. It says, but in the dark corners of the galaxy, a powerful few learn to use the Force in secret. One of them, a lone assassin, risks discovery to seek revenge. Now that is interesting, is like, because like there's a lot of Jedi that are openly exploring the Force, but like the people that use like guess the dark side are like doing it all in secret. But like do we think the Jedi would just straight up go after them like if they knew about them? Is that why they're doing it in secret?
Um. Yeah, I think they're just hiding their powers. Like I don't think they were worried about anybody coming after them. Like they just don't want to leak it to the world. Like it's their own secret corner.
Okay, so we open on the planet Ueda. A cloaked woman asks the stranger where the Jedi are, and they point the way. So she goes into this bar, and she finds Master Indara, um, and oh, what's her name from the Matrix? Plays her. Carrie-Anne Moss. Carrie-Anne Moss plays
Oh
Indara.
yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So she tells her they have unfinished business, and asks her to attack her with all her strength, which is actually something she'll revisit in episode 2, I believe. Um, so everyone laughs except Indara, who says she has no quarrel with the cloaked woman. The cloaked woman insists she attack. Indara says that Jedi do not attack unarmed people, and the cloaked woman says yes, they do. So we can already tell that this mysterious assassin has some sort of history with the Jedi, and really has issues with them.
Yeah.
So the cloaked woman easily beats up everyone in the bar until Indara confronts her. Now this I thought was weird. As she fights her, like she keeps grabbing for Indara's lightsaber, and like Indara keeps evading her. But we'll see in a minute, like she has a chance to take the lightsaber and she doesn't. So I was a little confused. Did that, because I don't know if you were, I know you were somewhat distracted while you were watching this, but did you notice that like she kept grabbing for her lightsaber, it seemed like?
Yeah, I don't know what her motivations are. Like at that point, it was just kind of weird. Like even later on, there's like a fight scene where she keeps trying to do that to other people too. Like that's
Yeah.
her move.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. And like I don't know exactly what the deal with that is.
Yeah.
Um so she tries to stab Indara, uh, and Indara stops her with the force. Um Indara asks who trained her. She doesn't answer. She uses the force to jump to the top floor of this bar, and she puts a knife to a stranger's throat. And this causes Indara to also use the force to jump up to the top floor. Indara radios someone that there's an unidentified force user. Um, so the cloaked woman throws the stranger over the railing, and Indara, breaks her fall by using the force. I will say, like, in a lot of other Star Wars properties, like, sometimes they do use the force. Um, and I'm always like, why don't they use it more, kind of in my head? But this show, they're using the force all the time,
Yeah.
to, like, push, pull people, force fields, that kind of stuff. They don't shy away from it.
I think that was a common criticism too.
Of like some of the other Star Wars shows.
Yeah,
Yeah, I always kind of felt that way. It's like you got this cool force and like you use it sometimes, but it seems like you could use it a lot more than you do.
yeah.
So they continue to fight. Indara gets the upper hand and unmasks her. She recognizes her and asks what she's doing here. And she replies that she's here to kill Indara. So she shoves Indara away with the force and throws knives at her, which Indara takes out with her lightsaber. And then, like, a barkeep down below makes a noise and distracts Indara. So the woman throws a knife at this barkeep, and when Indara uses the force to save him, the woman throws another knife in Indara's chest and kills her. So a part of me was like, and she died. So part of me was like, did they really cast Carrie-Anne Moss just for this scene, or do you think they'll find like flashback ways of like reusing her? Because it seemed weird to me that they would hire her and then just use her for one scene and kill her off.
They have to have flashback. Like we need to know what the person's motivations are. Like they kind of have to like kind of re-show those steps that happened that caused her to be the way she is, right?
Yeah, I kind of think they will because they kind of set up this thing where like she's really mad at these four particular Jedi for something they did when she was on this planet, and so yeah, I would think eventually they'll have to tell that story, and they'll probably use Carrie-Anne Moss again.
Yeah.
But I did think it was
Also,
weird that she died so quickly.
like, is the force only used on one thing at a time? Like, could she not stop that thing and then stop the thing coming at her? Like, is it just a one thing at a time situation?
That's a good question.
Because Luke Skywalker, when he's being attacked by all those like lasers, he deflects every one of them.
Yeah, I kind of think the Force can do what the writers needed to do, and they can just say, "Oh, well, maybe she, I don't know, wasn't as powerful as other Jedi, or wasn't in the right headspace, or just got distracted from them. I don't know." But yeah, you kind of would think she could do like save the barkeep and do maybe like a personal force field at the same time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it could obviously, the woman who kills her also can use the force. So like, maybe she also used the force in conjunction with her knife, and that was enough. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So she then, after she kills Indara, she kills Indara, and Indara's lightsaber is just right there on the ground. She could have took it, and this is what confused me because it seems like she was trying to get it before her. So I'm like, oh yeah, she's going to go get it, but then she doesn't, and I was like, okay, that's a little bit weird.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes and gets one of her regular knives down at the bar, and she threatens the barkeep, but then when she sees the barkeep has a child, she lets him go. So again, I guess we'll get some depth here with this woman where we can tell, oh, maybe she's not like completely bad. Like maybe she's got some code.
No. But why is she still try to kill the barkeep? He had nothing to do with anything. Like, why even threaten him in the first place?
That's true. Like, yeah, I guess like if the implication is she would have killed him if he didn't have the child, like she would still be pretty irredeemably evil. So yeah. I don't know. So now we switch to a woman waking up in a panic on a spaceship, and it appears to be the same woman we just saw.
Yeah.
She's greeted by her droid Pip. And I gotta say, we'll get into it, but I almost think like Pip is capable of too many things.
Oh yeah.
Like
this is like older too. Like these are older droids.
Right, it would be a much older droid than like even like R2-D2.
Yeah.
So an alarm goes off on the ship, and she says it sounds like they got a job to do. So this man comes up to her and calls her Osha. So we find out her name is Osha, and he asks why she didn't go out the night before. So again, I guess putting a thought in our mind that maybe she was this assassin woman
Mhm.
at this place killing Indara. He says she missed a wild trip to Nar Shaddaa with the piloting crew. Okay.
Mhm.
This man's name is Philic. I have no idea if he'll play a part in the rest of the show. She asks what's the emergency, and Philic says shield generator repairs. Um, oh, and before that, they pass some angry aliens that I guess are called, according to I watched with subtitles on. These guys are called the Nemodian, I guess. Uh, AJ, by chance, have you ever watched any of the prequel Star Wars movies?
No. Well, no, the old ones, the originals?
Well, the ones everybody hates.
Oh,
So
no, no.
episode one, two. So in episode one, there's these aliens that are like part of this trade federation, and this is one of like people big things about like the prequels are weird because like they focus on like the politics of these like trade federation guys, and it's like it seems like the
Yeah,
most boring stuff, And I
yeah.
believe that's what these guys are part of that like thing, because she even mentions that she's like the trade fed never used shields before, and like Felix like says like maybe that's why they need them repaired. um and by the way, we never really find out why they need these shields repaired so bad.
Yeah, are they going to war? Like this is peacetime.
Yeah, yeah, like it never really explains it.
Mhm.
So OSHA uses magnetized boots to walk on the outside of the ship. The trade fed aliens are mad that the repairs are taking so long. Again, we never find out why they need them so
Mhm.
quickly. But like the main guy, Captain, he wants them activated immediately. Um, so his like female assistant or whatever tells the trade fed captain that the mechanics, I guess that's the Star Wars term for mechanics, are
Mm.
on it, and he's like, "These grease scrubbers are disposable." Blah blah blah. Like,
Jeez, that's like the same thing we say today, grease monkeys, and then
right?
mechanics, mechanics. Like, come on, just all right. I guess they
Yeah,
have to like be able to get the idea across to us, but I don't know.
that is kind of a Star Wars thing to take like things we know and just like turn them just a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, so OSHA like was on that radio line or whatever. He hears him say that, and she jokes that Philic is disposable, maybe, but not her. Um, okay, so I was saying like Pip maybe does too much stuff. So she uses Pip to weld a broken connection, and this causes a pressure valve to explode and catch on fire. And I didn't notice this uh, myself, but I saw someone point out on Twitter that like this thing doesn't just blow up, like it keeps burning, but like they're in open space, so really it shouldn't be able to do that because there's nothing for the fire to feed on.
Mm.
Um, but as she's watching the thing on fire, like the fire seemingly reminds her of some sort of tragedy of her past. Okay, and then so not only does Pip weld, but then she then uses Pip to put out the fire. Uses him as like a fire extinguisher. So I'm like, is does she have to load stuff into Pip, or can he just produce all this stuff like by himself? You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's so advanced for a old ass droid. So yeah.
So then they see a Jedi ship fly in. Uh, on the ship, uh, um, it contains a Jedi Knight named Yord Fandar,
Mm.
along with his Padawan, Tazi Loa. All these people have Star Wars has these crazy names, and like there's so many of them that unless they get really popular, I can't ever remember them.
Mm.
So they are looking for Osha Anasea, I guess is her full name, who is a former Jedi. The trade captain says this is a cargo ship and that they have no passengers. He says that she is a mech. Yord says she is a mechanic, and the trade captain says they have no mechanics because legally only droids can perform outer ship repair. Um, and also, this captain guy seemed like such a dick that I'm surprised he was like trying to like cover for her here.
Yeah. I don't
Unless
know.
he just thought he could get in trouble for hiring her. I don't know.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I guess it's ironic that her name is OSHA because, like, in America, that's like the organization for like
Yeah,
work
safety.
safety violations in the
Yeah.
workplace. Um, so Yor begins to use his Jedi mind trick on the captain. So his assistant just like tells them where OSHA is and like what her bunk number is. So OSHA returns to her bunk, and she's actually happy to see Yord, and because they knew each other when she was in Jedi school, and like she was glad that he passed his training and became a Jedi Knight and all that. He says he never thought he'd see her again, and that Corpse Sec is about as far from Coruscant as you can get. Coruscant is, of course, the famous Star Wars city where the Jedi temple, or like the center of the Jedi, live.
Mhm.
She asks why he's there. He seems leery of her and like even like kind of like puts his hand on his lightsaber. Um, and he asks her to take a seat. So they start questioning her. Tazi asks how long she's been a mechanic, and she replies 6 years, which is apparently when she left the order. This is kind of like, I guess you could criticize this bit. There's a lot of exposition going on, which, I mean, I guess they have to tell us her backstory somehow. So
Yeah.
this is how they do it. It's revealed that she joined the order when she was 8 years old, and she was in mourning because her mother's sisters and village died in a fire before Master Soul brought her into the Jedi. They reveal that Indara was killed by someone matching her description and asked where she was last night, and says she was right here on the freighter. She asks why, why would she kill Indara? And Yord implies that Indara kicked her out of the order, but she says it was her decision to leave. So they bring in that barkeep who was in the first scene, and he identifies her as the killer. He's like, that's her.
Yeah.
So they load her onto a prison transport that's heading back to Coruscant. Before I learned his name, I just wrote Squid Games guy teaches some Jedi younglings to close their eyes and feel the Force. I don't know. Did you watch Squid Games?
No, I didn't.
Anyway, this is like the lead guy from Squid Games.
Okay.
This bit actually confused me a little bit because like one of his students is like this little black girl, and like she's like, I sense like a great fire or something. So at first I was like, oh, is this like now going like a flashback to when she was a kid? But no, it
Mhm.
turns out that's not the case. And I don't know if they were like purposely misleading us here or not.
Mhm.
So he is greeted by a green-skinned woman named Master Vernestra. We find out that he is Master Saul, the one that was referenced earlier. Vernestra tells Saul that they have Osha in custody for the murder of Indara. He says Osha was a dedicated Padawan, and he just doesn't see why she would kill Indara. He says he and Indara saved her from a terrible fire on Brendok. Apparently, that's the name of her home planet. And he thinks this must be a mistake. Vernestra says if people find out a Jedi killed one of their own, that their political enemies could use it against them.
Mm.
Now, I gotta say, this like Vernestra lady to me does seem a little sus, and like maybe she could end up being like a villain eventually. Although there is like one part where like she says, "May the Force be with you," and like that guy can't hear her later on. So I don't know, maybe not. Maybe she's perfectly fine. But
Mhm.
like I think they're definitely setting up like later on, like, oh, there's this mysterious villain, and I'm guessing it's going to be like a Jedi or someone we think is good, but is actually
Yeah.
the villain. I
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not, but it seems like they're setting something up like that. Um, so she says it's important that justice is swift and that an example is made. Again, lines that make her out to be somewhat possibly evil. I don't know.
Yeah.
She asks if she has Saul's support despite his feelings about OSHA, and he says yes. Back on the prison transport, OSHA sees another prisoner with a creature over their mouth. Another prisoner says it's called a debuk, and that it's a parasite used to subdue violent criminals. She asks if it's hurting him, and another alien prisoner says it does weird stuff to your brain. He then tells her that they are planning an escape and asks if she's in. She asks to where because they are in hyperspace. They plan to take out the droids that are flying the ship and use the escape pods. She says that could kill them. And the guy asks if she'd rather leave her fate in the hands of the Jedi, and she says yes, she has faith in the Jedi. One of the other prisoners shuts down the droids. By the way, I'm not sure how he did it. He had some sort of technology on his person that did it. Which begs the question is like, why was he waiting and to talk to her, and all that?
Yeah.
Like he could have done that ages ago. But anyway, they shut down the droids, and because of that, they start hitting asteroids. The other prisoners escape and leave her locked up. Pip is knocked on the floor. She tries to use the Force to get Pip, but she fails. Luckily, the ship gets hit by another asteroid, and it conveniently knocks Pip over to her, and she grabs him. She escapes her cell, but doesn't want to leave the man with the parasite, to his death, basically.
Yeah.
So she I think she uses Pip to shock the parasite off of his face. But he freaks out and he takes the remaining escape pod without her. So now she's stuck on that transport. So she she starts going into the gravity of a planet, and she puts on she straps herself into a seat. And a part of me was I thought it was going to be an ejector seat to where when she got low enough it would eject her, but no, it was just a crash seat, I guess. And so the transport just crash lands on this planet, and she ends up being fine. So back to Saul. Saul is interrupted by Jecki, which is his Padawan, played by Dafne Keen, who I guess was X-23 in the Logan movie.
Okay.
Anyway, he was kind of looking at a hologram of OSHA. Jecki tells him that Vernestra needs to see him at the detainment level. She asks him why he keeps hollows of the past Padawans, and says that it encourages sentimentality and nostalgia, which can lead to presumably the dark side. But she is interrupted by Saul, who says memories are lessons, and that if we don't meditate on the past, we're doomed to repeat it. At the detainment level, the prisoners that escaped in the escape pods are already back in custody, and they claim that OSHA orchestrated their escape. So they're just blaming it all on her. Vernestra tells him the transport went down over Karlak, and OSHA was not found among the survivors. The parasite man tells Saul that the Jedi woman was evil. He has him calm his mind and tell him what happened, and he tells how he betrayed her and took the escape pod, so what we just saw. Saul requests permission to go to Karlak and search for OSHA. Vernestra says it's highly unlikely that she survived, but Saul says he can feel that she is alive. Vernestra doesn't want him to go, but he convinces her that since he trained her, he feels responsible. So she agrees to give him a small team, but tells him to be discreet. So OSHA wakes up in the wreckage and sees a mysterious hooded figure that she follows out of the ship. So I don't know about you, but so I was okay, I'm pretty sure this is a vision she's having. But I thought it would be revealed later that the parasite thing ended up getting on her face, because that guy said it messes with your mind. And she does wake up later, but the parasite's not on her. So I was like, that seemed like a missed opportunity because that seemed like it would be like a good explanation,
Yeah.
of why she would have that vision. But I
Right.
don't know. They didn't go that route.
Hmm.
Um, so Saul plans to take Jackie with him, and they mentioned that that will be her first mission. He's also going to take Yord, who promises to redeem himself after uh, after Osha got away. So Osha follows this mysterious figure, who we find out is a vision of her sister May, um, who she thought died when they were kids. So this is like, a little girl in this vision. Her vision then makes her see Brendok, which is her home planet, and the fire that killed her family. So she chases after young May, who says, "You're with me, I'm with you, always one, but born as two. As above sits the stars, and below lies the sea, I give you you, and you give me me." So at this point, I was like, and I saw someone on Twitter like be like, is this going to be like a Fight Club situation where somehow it's the same person? But then, like, as we'll see, like, it definitely seems like two people that they're in, like, they see each other. Like, well, I guess in Fight Club that happens too, but it seems impossible because there's multiple people interacting with like both May and Osha at the same time. So I don't think that's a theory, but like, what do you think they're doing here? Do you think like they're using each of them as like, the light side and dark side of the force, basically?
I mean, I guess so. I couldn't really make sense. Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, that's the only thing I can really think of. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be like a bigger twist to that, but maybe I don't know. Osha asks May if she killed Indara, and she says yes, and she says she will kill them all. Osha wakes up out of her vision and tells Pip he won't believe who she just saw. Saul tells Jackie that Osha's twin sister started the fire that killed her family, and so Yord and Jackie are, instantly suspect like, oh, uh, maybe this person did it then. But Saul says no, she died. I saw her die.
Mm.
So they reach Karlak, and Osha flees when she sees, an incoming ship.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like this chase. Saul senses that she's there, and they like chase her through like this, follow her through like this cave, and eventually Saul corners Osha at the edge of a cliff. She says she didn't do it. She slips over the edge of the cliff, and Saul uses the force to save her life. She tells Saul that May is alive, and he says that he believes her, even though just like minutes ago in that other scene, he was like, "No, she's dead. I saw her die." But okay, she had a vision, and he believes it.
Mm.
May walks along. Okay, so the end of the episode, we see May walking along a coastline as a mysterious voice says the Jedi live in a dream that they believe everyone else shares. If you attack them with a weapon, you will fail. And it talks about how, like, steel and lasers like won't kill them. It says if you attack them with a weapon, you will fail. An acolyte kills without a weapon. An acolyte kills the dream. Um, and then, funny enough, after they're just like, "Oh, you can't kill with a weapon," it shows this mysterious acolyte like light up a red lightsaber. So I'm like, well, seems like maybe
Yeah.
you're going to use a weapon. And that's the end of episode 1. So, what do you think of that whole gimmick? Because this is going to come up again in episode 2, where it's like, oh, it's important that you kill a Jedi without a weapon. Like, I don't know. It seems silly to me. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know why that's a thing. Maybe they'll explain it, but like further, I don't understand it. They got some weird rules in the Jedi community. I don't know. When you talked about the whole dark side, light side thing, I think they did mention like early in the episode that there were people who were like misusing the Force, and they're starting some sort of other thing with it. I don't know.
Yeah, and that like opening like text, it did say like something about like there's a mysterious few like secretly
Yeah,
learning the ways of the Force. So yeah, I figured that's the acolytes and like whatever their mission is to destroy
yeah.
the Jedi, I guess. Um, but yeah, I don't know. No big thoughts on that episode. I think it was like I said, like uh, solid. Like there was enough intrigue there, but like it didn't hook me as much as some of the other Star Wars shows. But I'm in. I'm in. And I
Yeah.
believe I looked online, and apparently there's going to be 8 episodes. So they starting off with these two, and then I figured let's do one a week until they get 8 out. All right, AJ, episode 2, entitled Revenge/Justice.
Hmm.
By the way, do you think they'll do this for every episode title? It'll be like something/something.
I think so. I mean, like, yeah, I think it's going to be a recurring theme.
I guess it makes sense because it's like light side/dark side, OSHA/May.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, episode 2, we open on another planet, Olega. So May infiltrates a Jedi temple. She finds Master Torben and tells him they have unfinished business. She asks him to attack her with all his strength. Again, apparently this is like an acolyte thing too. Like ask him to attack you with all their
Yeah.
strength. But he doesn't move. In fact, he's like one of these silent monk types who's just like floating in a trance. She tries to attack him, but he's good at shielding himself with the Force. So she like keeps trying to attack him, but can't get through his Force field. Her presence is discovered, so she flees. Osha tells Jecki how to fix the ship. Yord thinks Saul should put Osha in restraints. He says even if May were alive, she would not have the training to defeat a Jedi Master. And it, and Saul's like says that Osha hasn't trained in 6 years as a Jedi, so it's unlikely that she would be able to defeat a Jedi Master as well.
Yeah.
So Yord says they could be working together, meaning May and Osha. Saul says not to let fear affect his judgment. So Saul tells Vernestra about May and how he suspects her. Vernestra says she thinks that he is correct and tells him about the break-in at the temple in Olega. So Vernestra asks Saul to go investigate Olega and to bring Osha with him because she might be a valuable asset. May meets with a man named Kimir. She tells him how she couldn't hit Torben and asks Kimir to make a poison. She says she has 2 Jedi to kill after Torben, and that she will kill one of them without a weapon and please her master. So again, they bring this no weapon thing up, and also again they have some mysterious master. So Kimir mixes up this poison, and she tells him it wouldn't bode well for either of them if their master found out about this poison, and that I guess that she's going to use yet another weapon against the Jedi. Saul tells Osha he wanted to save both her and May. Osha tells him what happened wasn't his fault, and then the team make it to the temple on Olega. So at the same time they arrive, May goes back into the temple to Torben with the poison. And May tells Torben that she knows why he took the bearish vow, which apparently is like a vow of silence. But that his past still haunts him. So I didn't mention this, but in the very beginning, like there's this little girl that May hires to help her break into that Jedi temple. Well, that little girl that helped with May's break-in points at Osha and says that it was her that she helped. Saul says he'd like to talk with Torben, and they say Torben hasn't spoken a word in over 10 years. May tells Torben he can either confess his crimes to the Jedi Council or receive the forgiveness he seeks from her by presumably taking the poison. And so immediately Torben breaks his vow of silence and tells May that he's been waiting for her. Osha sees a vision of young May again and follows her. And Yord notices this, that she like trails off, so he goes to follow and keep an eye on Osha.
Mm.
So Torben asked May to forgive him, and that he thought they were doing the right thing back in the day with whatever happened. He then drinks the poison. Osha discovers Torben's dead body, and then of course the others arrive, and like the lead Jedi guy there thinks that Osha killed him. But then Yord comes in the room and he says, "No, she was in my sights the whole time. She couldn't have done it."
Yeah.
They surmise that Torben took the poison willingly because there's no signs of struggle. Osha says that the poison is derived from something called bunta, which grows on her home planet. She tells them that the bunta would have had to be fresh, and so they would have had to got it from like an apothecary. So they go to the local apothecary, and like they notice that it's been taken over by an imposter, that Khmer guy.
Mm-hmm.
So they plan to have Osha pretend to be May and go talk to him and like record him. So for a moment, Khmer thinks the poison wasn't used, and like says that their master will be pleased. This is after Osha like puts on a purple cloak to dress as May and goes in there. I believe Khmer even has a line that like, "Oh, you look just like her," so like he puts it together because she's acting funny or whatever. He puts it together that it must be Osha, I guess. Although, now thinking about it, does that make sense? Because we find out here in a bit that that May is surprised to find out that Osha is still alive. So, like, if she didn't know she was still alive, how would this guy have any idea?
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know.
Unless he's just like, this obviously isn't May, so, like, whatever you did, you look exactly like. I don't know. Anyway, the others show up and question Khmer. He says that he's just May's supplier. He says May wants revenge on 4 Jedi, and that if they want her, she'll be back at the shop tonight. Saul doesn't want Osha to confront May because she is too angry and wants revenge. He asks her for a chance to save May now since he failed when she was a child. And so Osha kind of reluctantly agrees to that. Osha says the 4 Jedi are the ones that were stationed on Brendok, which would be Indara, Torben, Kelnaka, and Saul. Saul asks Osha to have faith in May. She shakes her head, so he says, "Well, then have faith in me." So now, outside of the apothecary, Saul confronts May, and they begin to fight. He is curious why she attacks without a weapon. Again, they bring this up. She grabs for and misses his saber. So again, it seems like she's after a lightsaber really bad, but she never took Indara's. So I don't know. Hopefully they'll have an answer for that. Saul discovers by using the Force that even May doesn't know who her master is. This is another thing where I'm like, maybe the Force powers are too strong, like, to give him that much information. Because I know the Force has been used as like the Force mind trick to where like on weak minds they can convince like, like a dumb stormtrooper to like forget I was here or something like that. But I don't know if I've ever seen them use the Force to this extent of like, reading someone's mind.
Yeah.
And also, like, May is also a Force user herself, so you would think she would have somewhat of a defense against, you know, someone using the Force on her in that way. But again, the Force kind of does what the writers need it to.
Yeah.
So Saul tells May that Osha is alive, but she doesn't believe him. Um, and so, like, Jackie, the Padawan, like, is in the ship above and puts a spotlight on her, and they're about to arrest her. But she just basically uses the Force to, like, kick up a dust cloud, and she's able to get away. And part of me is like, okay, but then these other guys are, like, experienced Force users, and the Force can do all this stuff, but it can't, like, find her. I don't, you know what I mean? It seems like she shouldn't have been able to get away from this, like, simple tactic, but it totally works.
Look, man, a lot of Star Wars doesn't make sense to me. Like, how do they keep finding people on other planets? They don't seem that advanced. Like, they're kind of like, it's like a mixture of like advancement with the droids, but then also like helter skelter, like just people just barely getting by, going to saloons, you know, like, but at the same time, like they can accurately pinpoint a Wookiee on another, like, it's weird, you know?
What's funny in Star Wars too is, like, there's no planets like Earth. Like, every planet is either, like, an ice planet, tropical planet, forest planet, ocean planet. It's always like just one, or desert planet. It's always like one thing rather than like a bunch of things. And then maybe every planet just has one podunk town in it, like, or one, like, city in it, and they're like, that's where we'll land, and that's where we'll find whoever we're looking for. Like, apparently no planet has multiple civilizations.
Yeah, they're all like, yeah, you're right. They're all podunk towns. Like, how do you do that? It's an entire planet, man.
I mean, I guess there are places like Coruscant that are like big cities as well, but, like, there always seems to just be like one, like, civilization per planet rather than like Earth where there'd be like all over the planet.
Right, yeah. Hmm.
Um okay, so yeah, she kicks up the dust storm and escapes. So we get this weird scene where, like, May, like, takes this guy's car, but then, like, Osha sees her and, like, puts a gun on her, and then May just happens to look and they meet eyes, and she's like, "Oh, Osha, like, you are alive." And then, like, Osha shoots at her, but, like, seemingly misses on purpose, or at least I think that's the sense we're supposed to get.
Yeah.
Um, and that allows her May to get away. We get a scene where Vernestra tells Sol they must meet to discuss next steps. So this confused me a little bit because, like, he's like, why do we have to talk about this? Like, we know where she's going. We shouldn't waste time talking. Which, if that's true, I'm like, yeah, he makes a lot of sense. And the fact that Vernestra is, like, trying to slow him down makes her look sus again. But then a part of me is like, how does he know where she's going? Like, I don't, like, unless he used the Force on her, but she doesn't even know where she's going until the next scene. So I don't know how he would have known where she was going.
I mean, they have this amazing technology to pinpoint people on planets, man. Like,
So there is some writing here that I'm not sure adds up completely. Because, yeah, the very next scene is May meets up with that Khmer guy again and threatens him for, like, setting her up. But he says he can get her out of the city and to a place called Kofar, which is where the Wookiee Jedi lives. So on Kofar, we are introduced to the Wookiee Jedi Kelnaka, who scares off some scavengers, and that's how the episode ends. Again, not a cliffhanger ending, really, kind of a dud ending in my opinion, but, like, it was fine. But yeah, that's what I'm saying is, like, even if he, like, even when Saul used the Force on May, at that point, she did not know where she was going next. So like him telling Vernestra like, "Oh, we know where she's going next," doesn't really make sense to me. Like, how would he have known?
Yeah, I don't know. You definitely watched it more carefully than I did, so you're asking all the right questions. I don't know.
Well, when I have to like stop and take notes, it almost forces me to pay too much attention to it in a way.
Yeah. It really ruins the show when you can like find all these inconsistencies.
That's true. I probably would like some of these shows we read more if I didn't take detailed notes.
Yeah.
Because it's like when you do take notes, sometimes it is like that. Then you're like, well, that doesn't make the most sense. So yeah, I think there's definitely some writing inconsistencies here. But I do like that they at least introduce that mystery of like, the mysterious Acolyte master, and like even May doesn't know who it is. I guess I could pull like a real Fight Club, and when that person's unmasked, it also looks exactly like her.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's like they were triplets, not twins.
Or it was the same person the whole time. They found it or whatever.
Well, that's the other thing. I was like, could they do this like funky thing where like it really is just one of them that has like a split personality, but they're so powerful with the Force, they like project themselves like in another place. I don't think that's possible, especially since they actually see each other.
That's true. Yeah. But who knows, man? What the future holds for the Force in the Star Wars universe?
That's one thing, because at the beginning of this, I was like, I kind of like that they're using the Force more than they have, but there is a danger if they make the Force like way too powerful, especially since this takes place hundreds of years before. Because then at some point you're just like, well, how come in the Star Wars later on they didn't use all these powers that would have came in extra special handy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, AJ, that was the first 2 episodes of Star Wars: The Acolyte. So yeah, I think I'm going to score 6.5 out of 10. Would you be around the same, you think, or?
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah, to me it was just okay. Looking at my notes here.
What did this compare to Ahsoka? What did we give Ahsoka in the first 2 episodes? Do you remember?
I was trying to remember that. I would have to go back.
Yeah.
I want to say we were around the same, maybe a little bit higher for Ahsoka, but I think a similar thing. I think we were kind of like cautiously optimistic with Ahsoka. Like there was things we liked and other things we were like so on. So I bet we were 6.5 or 7.
Yeah.
Would be my
the way
guess.
I was definitely like happy with it. It's too bad that dude died, but I'm very curious about whoever they replace him with, that guy's storyline.
Oh, with Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ray Stevens' death.
Yeah, Ray Stevens. Yeah.
I think they did announce that they are doing, like, it's not a surprise, I guess, but they are doing Ahsoka season 2. So,
oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, they haven't announced like, I mean, because it seemed like it would be hard to just write his character off rather than replace him. Because it definitely seemed like they were going to go somewhere with his character. And also his character was one of the more intriguing aspects of Ahsoka, so I would certainly hope so.
Mm-hmm.
I think Carl Urban would be a good replacement for him.
Yeah, he's young though, isn't he? But he would be good. He would.
I bet they were similar in age. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Carl Urban's maybe a little bit younger, but I wouldn't think like significantly younger.
But he's in The Boys, so they can't pull him away from that.
That's true. He is busy these days. Also, I think the next season of The Boys is starting up this month, so that's exciting as well.
About that, yeah.
That is a show I highly recommend you watch. It's good, man.
I know I've got too many good shows lined up that I haven't watched. It's crazy. I don't know. Have you watched Gen V? Whatever that is.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And it's actually pretty good too. I wouldn't say it's as good as like the mainline boys series, but
Mhm.
it is good, and they find a way of tying it into the boys as well. Like it's not one of those things where like if you watch the boys you have to watch it, but it's still a good watch.
Okay. All right.
This is apropos of nothing, but I've been playing. I finally got around to playing Spider-Man 2
Mhm.
on my PS5. Man, those games are so fun. I don't know if you've ever played the Spider-Man games.
I've heard about them. Everybody
Uh,
talks about how great they are. Um, there's also like a Miles Morales one. I heard that one's fun too. How many Spider-Man games are there?
there's three. There's Spider-Man, Spider-Man Miles Morales, and Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
But yeah, those games, they're just so fun.
They look like a lot of fun. And I guess with the new like PlayStation engine, you can really get away with a lot more. Like I've played like old games like where it's still fun, but it's not the same. You know, like this the swing. There's some visual stuff that doesn't work, but I think now they've gotten to the point where it's very satisfying to play that kind of game.
Yeah, I mean the best thing on the PS5 is once you get like fast travel unlocked, like it's like very quick,
Okay.
loads very quick, so keeps things moving. I don't know, it's very addictive and fun.
I had an Xbox where I played this game Fable, and every time you went like from one place to another, like it would take forever to load. It's so frustrating because sometimes you go like into a place and out of a place and into a place and out of like over and over again because you barely moved and it just does that, and it would just take like 4 or 5 minutes to get through that whole process. Oh, that
I
was
know.
the
I
worst.
think back on like some like PS1 and PS2 games and like load times that are just like so bad.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird because
But
like Nintendo games were so quick.
right, yeah, they were so simple that it was just like no load times.
Yeah,
And then you get to like the PlayStation era, and it's like, what is this? I have to wait like
yeah,
minutes at a time sometimes.
yeah. Now it's
I
back to
remember
the
playing like wrestling games and stuff, and like you'd pick a match, and then it'd be like, oh, gotta wait a minute or two
Oh
for
yeah, yeah. I remember those. I used to play those games too.
yeah, yeah.
Basketball too.
I played the hell out of those. What?
Basketball too. Like first of all, you had to wait forever for the game to load. And what's great about them is they would throw a commercial in those games. So literally, while you're waiting for the game to load, it'd be a Sprite commercial or a Gatorade commercial or something like that. It's so fun. You bought the game, they still throwing commercials at you, and then like a quarter ends and there's another commercial because they're loading the next quarter. It's like they really took the advantage of that whole situation, like the loading situation. Oh no, that fucked me up.
They can be like it's true to life when you watch basketball. You see commercials.
Ton of them, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's our take on Star Wars: The Acolyte, and so I'm happy that we'll be having another show that we can review week to week.
Yeah,
And so we'll see everybody again next week for episode 3.
yeah.
But anyway, if everybody will, please subscribe both to the YouTube channel, and you can subscribe in audio form on your podcast catcher of choice. Leave us thumbs up, positive reviews, comments down below, all that good stuff. And that'll do it for all of our shenanigans and poppycock this week. Please, please, please tune in again next week. Bye, guys.
Take care.